This show contains adult-orientated content.
You're listening to Smegcast with Matt, Gary and Devon.
Oh, I'm so glad to see you're live, Devon.
You too. I was so worried about what might have happened to you. I thought you might have got washed away.
I know, it was a big weekend. I mean, it was life and death.
It's kind of funny, we're doing a podcast today and we're sort of talking about one of the most neutral and boring of topics, the weather.
I know. When I hear small talk around the weather, a part of me dies inside. I cannot physically take the act of talking about the weather. But this weekend, the weather was a rather exciting ordeal. We were given a description from, the Bureau of Meteorology that this weekend was going to be the most severe weather event that I think, you know what they said? They said it was going to be like 50% of all Victorians will have never experienced weather this severe in their entire lifetime. It was like that scene in the George Clooney movie Perfect Storm where they're describing, oh my God, it's happening. This and this is coming together to create the perfect storm. I mean, it's like that.
For those who don't know, basically we experienced 3 months worth of rain in 2 or 3 days.
It did rain a lot, but that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, I was expecting, it sounded like a meteorite was going to hit. That's the way it was. I mean, I felt like I should have ran to the nearest supermarket and bought like an entire slab of baked bean cans because that was the only way we were going to get through this weekend. But really what had happened is that it just rained a little bit more than it usually does rain, and that's it.
Yeah.
Wow, it was really something. Did you see the Maserati in the paper?
Yeah, I know.
Did you see that?
What happened there? Did the person try and drive through the water?
Well, that's what I think. There's a lot of stories of people, because obviously, look, it's a lot of rain. The thing about Australia is that it's not built for rain, is it? I mean, it's gone, any little tiny bit of more rain than they expect, and suddenly everything comes to a complete standstill and roads under sea level start to flood. But yeah, there's a lot of stories. There's a guy somewhere in one of the other suburbs that had a BMW, and he attempted, and apparently people watched him attempt to drive through floodwater, and it was just hilarious. People were like, what are you doing? And then eventually he just kind of stopped. The front wheel just tipped over, the back started to float, and then you just had this guy in the car going, oh shit, the water starts coming in by the pedals, you kind of know shit's not going well. And I think the Maserati, that was in Seddon, I think it was, Victoria Road. And there's a Maserati right underneath a bridge, a low-lying bridge, tried to drive right through there. And now all they've got now is a Maserati, and then the water's like up to the door.
Because see, it's funny, when I saw that image of that Maserati in the water, I sort of thought, I reckon maybe someone can't keep up with their loan repayments.
Yeah.
and it's a bit of an insurance job, because I'm just sort of thinking, when you've got a car that's worth that amount of money, like if I had that kind of car, I wouldn't even want to drive on like a gravelly road or anything with too much dust, let alone drive through, 2 feet of water.
This is why I don't want to own an expensive car, because I just spend the rest of my life constantly worrying about the damn thing. Like if you were Bill Gates or some, infinitely rich Russian billionaire and you owned a Maserati, I mean, you would not care. You had a dent in the car, you're like, it's all right, I got 4 of those. This weight is lifted off your shoulders. But obviously, you think about the guy with the Maserati that was in that street and the car was flooded. He probably saved up for maybe 5 years to get that car. On a Saturday night, he probably had a chick in the car. He was probably driving the car. He had like one hand on the wheel. He had his other hand on the window. He was just enjoying life. This hot chick was next to him. And she said, I don't know if you can get through that. That looks very deep. And he's like, don't worry, this is a Maserati. I spent $100,000 in this car. It's going to get through anything. And then, didn't really do that. Sorry.
And the funny thing is too, because with Maseratis, they're one of those cars that's got that really sort of loud exhaust note as well. So they even sound fast, even when they're just rolling along very slowly. So I can just imagine the big loud V8 engine just rumbling away, and then it's just slowly getting strangled as it's entering the water.
That picture, that is hilarious, because some guy was trying to impress somebody doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
The poor lad. But we did survive the weather. Both myself and Devon were actually in the city of Melbourne on the Friday, and that was the day where there was minute-to-minute updates. The front page of the newspapers was kind of like, severe weather warning, minute-to-minute updates, stay safe, stay safe. People were going home early. Entire buildings in the city were closing just for people to get home because they were worried about what was going to happen. I thought it was going to be like a hurricane.
Yeah.
One of the things the papers did is that they took pictures of a flood that happened in like the 70s. Did you see that picture?
I saw that.
Yeah, there's like one picture that some guy took on Elizabeth Street in the city, and it's like It's in like from 1974 or something like that, and the water is literally it's like something out of the Day After Tomorrow. You know, the water is like head height. It's rushing down the street. It's in black and white. It looks like everybody's terrified, and you just look at it and you think it's happening. Yeah. It's happening again. It's gonna be, you know, I'm gonna walk down the street. It's gonna be people just like being torn away by like tidal waves of water, and that's the way they pitched it to us. You know where I was at 6 p.m?
Where?
I was in a tequila bar in the city, drinking shots of tequila and playing fucking Uno. And I was sitting here with a bunch of people doing shots of tequila thinking, this is ridiculous. I was terrified at 2 o'clock. Here I am playing Uno, playing badly. I lost. There was such a scare tactics used by a media conglomerate in order to scare the crap out of everyone. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there were suburbs outside, like regional suburbs, low-lying suburbs near rivers that probably did have some bad flooding. But mate, I mean, the way they were showing pictures of people getting swept away by a 6-foot wave. I mean, there was nothing there. It wasn't even raining at 6 o'clock. We were outside. Yeah, I didn't know where to start.
But it's sort of funny how people are actually listening to the weatherman, because I'm sort of thinking, in the past, when has the weatherman ever been right? And for some reason on this one day, 99% of the population's actually listening to the weatherman.
Well, yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like getting advice about the stock market from like a homeless person in the street.
Right.
That's just, you're not going to trust that caliber of information. And it's the same with this as well. I don't know why everyone was believing so much about how the weather's going to be.
You heard what they were saying, when they did the press conference at the Meteorology Bureau, and they were asking, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, where is the severity of it? And they were like, 10. It's a 10, full 10. Yep. It is going to be 10. And you're like, 10? 10 is like... 10 is like tsunami. I mean, 10 is like, that sounds bad. They said that. And I'm thinking, 10? What does that even mean? Yeah, they said the thing where like 50% of the people in the city will have never experienced weather as severe as this. Which made me just go, what does that even mean? Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about there? I mean, that could be anything. I didn't know how to take that. And then they've all these pictures from the 70s of how people, getting killed by waves. They had a minute-to-minute update, and then there was a certain point around maybe 2 p.m. on the Friday where this was the moment where it was supposed to end. I think to myself, this is the minute, 5 minutes to midnight, this is it. And then the first thing that came up was, actually, we've looked at our gauges, and, there hasn't been quite as much rainfall as we expected. We are still waiting for things to pick up. And I thought to myself, you're waiting for things to pick up? You know what I mean? It's like kind of like, we're just waiting for disaster to strike. Yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes to plan. It was such a stupid thing. And Devon and I, when we were there, we were quite near the building where the meteorology people are, because we're actually located quite close to that building. Yeah. So when I was doing tequila, I thought to myself, well, why don't we just keep an eye on the meteorology building? Because we know when those people start to run away, we know it's probably time to get out of the city. As long as they're still there and there's no panic around the meteorology building, we're going to be good. But I'm glad you're alive, Devon.
I am too, and I'm glad you're okay too.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. You see, we care about each other in Smegcast. That's what differentiates us from the other podcasts.
But actually, it just occurred to me, we're missing a person.
We actually are. I don't know if he hopefully Matt's all right. I honestly didn't text him.
Because Matt doesn't drive, so he was probably sitting at a bus stop.
He probably was.
He's probably sitting. He probably got swept away.
I mean, we can't save everyone.
It's survival of the fittest. Now, do you know, Gary, one of the things, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but a lot of people often stop me in the street when they ask me questions about our podcast.
Oh, really?
And it's funny, one of the phrases that I use...
Like how many, Devon? Like one?
Maybe 2. But no, a lot of people have always asked me about one of the comments I made, which was from our very first episode.
Right.
Where I was talking about avocados.
Oh, yes.
And
very fascinating piece of information you had there.
Now, what I thought we'd do is we might just do a little bit of a flashback to that very episode, and, you can just hear this quote. If you have an avocado and you leave it on the tree, it actually doesn't ripen. It's only actually when you pull it away, or pull it off a branch, that's actually when it starts to ripen. But some people apparently say it's nature's refrigerator, because effectively you can just leave an avocado on the tree and it stays as it is until you actually take it off, and then it starts to ripen.
What a great quote that was.
Now, the person who I actually got that information from was I don't know him personally, but was from a television show in the 80s through the 90s. It was called Burke's Backyard.
Okay, Burke's backyard. Now, is this is like a educational program?
Well, what it was basically a gardening show.
Right.
So it was created by a guy called Don Burke. Now, Don Burke, just in recent times, has actually been in a bit of strife.
I've heard a bit of this.
Yeah. So
but this is everywhere now.
Exactly. So, yeah, but those who don't really know Don Burke basically had a gardening show which ran from, I think, 1987 through to 2004. So,
and look, was this a regular boring show? Or
so it was once a week. It'd be usually on a Friday night, 7:30 on Channel 9.
Friday night? Could you imagine a world where gardening shows are on a Friday night at 7:30? That's like Tom Cruise time slot. Yeah. There's a fucking gardening show on then?
Yeah, exactly.
But he was a big deal.
But see, I used to always watch it. That was the thing. I actually learnt quite a bit by watching these shows because basically on the show, he would be talking about all the plants, gardens, he'd be talking about pets and animals, avocados, all sorts of different things. So, as a kid, I actually learned quite a bit by watching his shows because back in those days, there was really no internet or anything like that either.
No, there was only Friday night at 7:30. That's all I got. You do think about it now, like how the hell do we learn anything before the fucking internet came around? I mean, it's amazing. Like you literally what you got on TV, that's probably the extent of it. That's all you got. But I mean, look, I've heard a lot about this in the news, and it's pretty serious, though, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, what's happening?
He's basically been put into a bit of a situation similar to Harvey Weinstein.
Oh yeah, Harvey Weinstein. Oh, he started so much, Harvey.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the ball, that snowball, that's rolling.
So at the moment, Don Burke has now become basically the Australian equivalent of Harvey Weinstein at the moment.
It kind of shows you where we're at in Australia, that we're kind of like, we need to come up with something. They've got Harvey. We need to find something for us. And the only thing we could find was a gardening program presenter.
But see, I myself was quite surprised that the name even sort of came up. But I mean, he hasn't really been in the public eye for quite some time. He probably hasn't really... He might make an appearance once every couple of years on television, but it's just very brief. So, really, he hasn't been on...
Well, how long?
Well, I'd say really, 2004 was when his show ended, and then he just maybe made the casual appearance as maybe a bit of a guest on a show every couple of years.
But was he... I mean, look, I'm not Australian, so I don't know, but, how big is the guy here? I mean, he's a gardening show presenter. I guess we have, in the UK, they have, Alan Titchmarsh.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, right? Like everyone knows who he is. He's got a really silly name. I mean, they know exactly. My mum knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's well known. Is he like the Australian version of him?
Yeah, correct. Well, one thing about Don Burke was many people claim that he was actually the person who more or less introduced infotainment to Australia. Because before, you just have your usual soap operas and movies and things like that, but he was basically the first person to create a show that, using information that would be obviously some point of entertainment for people.
And you mean like infotainment, like the blending of kind of like a factual scientific kind of show, but it's like kind of an old Mythbusters kind of format.
Yeah, so he would almost segment the show. So basically he would sort of have his plant section. He would then invite a guest who would be maybe talking about the Australian wildlife. He would then perhaps have another person who maybe was quite an expert on animals, things like that.
Right.
Then at one point there he was doing a lot of backyard improvements, and that little segment ended up evolving into a whole new show, which was called Backyard Blitz.
I suppose the modern form, because if people in whatever country, retrospective country, they're actually listening to this, and they're going to have reality TV, they're going to have, and it's not just reality TV like Big Brother. You correct me if I'm wrong. You've got these construction shows.
Yeah.
Like where you take a house that's, falling apart and then you turn it into Steve Jobs' mansion, then you sell it for $1 million. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the show, is how do they do that? Yeah. You could say that, I guess the Australian form of that comes from this guy. Is that right?
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty big. So what the hell did the guy do? Because he is in the news everywhere, mate, but I haven't read a huge amount of it. Like, I imagine what he did on the Harvey Weinstein level of bad shit, it's not good.
Yeah, so I think there's been a lot of cases of inappropriate comments, quite sort of sexual behaviour, putting his hand down women's tops, things like that. So really sort of inappropriate things.
Like on the set?
Yeah, it appears to be. It's been happening with a lot of the female co-workers.
Oh, no.
Apparently these instances have been reported to probably some of the bosses at Channel 9.
Really?
So look, I assume that back in the day, this kind of behaviour was maybe addressed by senior management. Who knows? But, I suppose at the time he would have been, Don Burke, to some extent, almost would have been untouchable.
Well, it's the protection thing, though. I mean, you know this, Devon. The reason why so much of this stuff, the reason why the Harvey Weinstein thing was so abnormal, the reason why the Kevin Spacey thing was so abhorrent, is big words here, is just because they were protected.
Yeah.
And the thing about the show business industry is that that type of protection seems to be rife. And I'm guessing this guy is the same.
Yeah.
These accusations have come up. I mean, how far back are we talking?
So probably a lot of this would have been throughout maybe the late 80s through the 90s, that type of thing.
So this is 20, 30 years old, this stuff.
Yeah, so look, even with some of the things, he's made inappropriate comments to one of a female Australian Olympian, Susie O'Neill, who was a swimmer.
Right.
So there was comments which, obviously I can't sort of say on the podcast because it's probably in poor taste.
Absolutely.
But basically since, this announcement has been made, now there's a lot of sort of videos surfacing. Yeah, there's sort of sexual innuendo used in these YouTube videos and things.
And is this YouTube video, are they from the show?
They are from the show.
So they were broadcast like years ago and now they're coming back up.
Yeah.
Right.
So, some people are looking and going, oh, yeah, he was a real pervert even back then. But in all honesty, I reckon I pretty much watched almost every episode of the show growing up. And all I ever saw of him was he was basically just talking about plants, potting mix, things like that. Really,
real perverted stuff.
That kind of stuff. But there was two...
I never trust anyone talks about potting mix.
Oh, but I tell you one thing, like there was the two YouTube videos that have just recently surfaced.
You watched them, did you?
Yeah, I thought, you got to research for these podcasts. You got to keep on top of everything.
Yeah,
so
investigate.
But there was one interview which he was doing with a woman called Annalise Brakensieg.
Right.
So she's...
Is she a presenter?
What she was basically on a lot of the men's magazine covers and things like that.
Like a glamour model?
Yeah, she was a model. So she was known for being she is a very busty type of woman. So, of course, one of the interviews that he was doing, because he often used to go to people's homes and, look at their garden and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's one little clip, probably only goes for about a minute long, where he's just talking to her in the kitchen and, and then halfway through the conversation, he asks a question, oh, are those real? Implying, her breasts.
Right.
She has a bit of a laugh because, to be honest...
I suppose the reality of her industry too, she probably gets asked that every day by someone, whether it's in a bar. It's certainly not appropriate to go and do that sort of thing, but I guess there is a element of kind of male banter that unfortunately, people will say that to someone that is in the glamour model industry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of that's gonna happen. But this guy obviously said that. Yeah.
But the other video that also has just surfaced was, once again, this was just a simple gardening video, but it was talking about propagating. So now it was I can't recall the name of the particular plant, but basically the plant has a piece that protrudes out similar, and it almost looks like a banana.
Right.
Now, I think this particular plant comes from South America, where moths are used to help fertilize the plant.
So what's it called? You don't know the name?
I'll find that. Just one moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so the particular plant in question was a philodendron.
Okay, right.
So basically with this plant...
I can't say that helped illuminate anything for me. I mean, no, I've never heard of it.
So I believe it is a plant from South America.
Okay.
And what actually helped propagate
Can you smoke it? Is that encouraged?
Well, if you look at this thing, with this particular protrusion, it almost looks like a banana or a penis.
Okay.
You see, now the thing was, in their native country, moths were often used to help propagate the plant and fertilize and things like that. But because the plant is now in a totally different country,
right,
those moths are not available. So what people would be doing is they'd be, rubbing the little protrusion that almost looked like a penis.
Right.
And so when you see the YouTube video,
is that him doing it?
Oh, well, it was
Don Burke rubbing off a plant.
It was actually a lady who was on the show. So she's there sort of massaging this particular part, which looks very, very suggestive.
Okay.
But look, in all honesty, they're just talking about simple horticulture.
I mean, let's face it though, the cameraman that was filming that, he probably looked at the sound guy and went, there's something not right about this.
Yeah, but definitely for those who, want to know more about what I'm talking about, certainly look at, Google or check on YouTube, propagating philodendron with Don Burke.
Okay, right.
And you'll
know that
exactly
a million people are just going to go on the internet now.
Oh, you're going to see it's going to spike.
It is going to be huge.
Yeah.
So that was on the internet too. So I'm just going to ask this: is the reason that they put this on just for humor, or are they trying to say, like, look how perverted they were in this show? I mean, it's really bad.
Yeah, look, that's what it was. I think people are sort of now trying to imply that he was real pervert. I mean, I've been looking at different things on Facebook, different comments that people are making, and people are saying, oh, I never liked the man. As soon as women are writing saying, oh, as soon as my husband put him on TV, I changed the channel. And I thought, I don't know how.
How would you have known that?
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing, because
it's a gardening show. I mean, you can't. I mean, imagine watching a gardening show. How do you pick up the pervert radar so quickly? I mean, it just is. It's just plants, innit? You know, oh, this guy, look at the way he's potting that plant. What a pervert.
Yeah. So that's the thing. But I mean, look, fair enough. Look, you know, sexual harassment is sexual harassment. Look, it can't be tolerated really. Whether it's today or
on any level,
or 15 years or 30 years or back, whatever. But yeah, I do sort of find it funny that you got people who are saying, "Oh, I just never liked the man.
I knew it.
I knew he was like that." Blah blah blah. Because as far as I could see, he's only ever been a professional on the show.
Of course,
like that's the thing. I mean, to be honest,
that's why he's got the job.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the show ran for that many years as well. Like, you would sort of think, you know, obviously people can be very different on and off camera, and really it seems to be all these issues that are rising up from what's happened off camera and behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think you're right. I suppose, look, if you worked with someone like that and you had a strong opinion on that was negative, that would be reasonable for you to go, okay, you must know what you're talking about. You worked with him, therefore you have a perfect right to do it. But I suppose what we're talking about is when you're just a general member of the public that watched the show and then you just, oh, I knew it. I always knew he was an absolute freak, you know, and you kind of go, well, how did you know? You couldn't possibly have known this. It's probably as big a shock as it is to anyone. But if I'm correct, you can correct me. I imagine, how many people are we talking about that's at the point where they're accusing him? Is there a lot? I mean, how many people?
Yeah, I think it is a reasonable amount.
A lot.
Yeah, I think it's certainly in tens, I'd say. Yeah,
it's up there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to that stage, I mean, this is the thing. I had a debate with somebody the other night where they were talking about like, oh, you know, I didn't know Harvey Weinstein. How do I know he committed all these things? And I was like, well, look, you know, if one person comes out and accuses you of something, it has to be looked into. It has to be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
And you know, if that did happen, that's an incredibly unfortunate thing and it should be dealt with. But if 15, 20, 30 people come out and then say the same thing within a few days, then you have to pretty much go, something's not right.
Not everyone would sort of be aware of this too, but usually anything to do with harassment, basically harassment can be as soon as someone feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
So what could happen is, for example, I could make a comment to you and you'd be totally fine with it, but if there was that third person who was maybe overheard that conversation, they, fair enough, aren't part of it, but because they felt offended,
yes,
that can constitute as being harassment as well.
Yeah, right. Of course, it doesn't just have to be like you don't have to physically do something. Yep. It doesn't just include that, does it? Well, that's it. Did you hear about the Louis C.K. thing?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things about the Louis C.K. thing is that I feel like he probably justified all the horrible stuff he did because he didn't actually touch anyone. And that was one of the ways I think he justified that, because the way it would work is, and it's not pretty, but he would actually get the female comedians to go to his room, his hotel room. He would actually ask them for permission. He actually would say, "Can I jerk off in front of you?" And before they would even answer, some of them even said yes, out of just thinking it was a joke, because he's a comedian.
Yeah.
So you go, well, this guy's funny, he's a comedian, it must be a joke. But it wasn't a joke. I mean, he was dead serious. And it was only when he started doing it in front of them that they realized, again, I am deeply uncomfortable with this situation. I did not know this is where it was going to lead to. But then he is kind of, I think, justified it by saying, well, I asked permission first and they said yes, or they didn't answer, or whatever it is. He did ask the question. And also he didn't actually touch anyone. And then, you know, as part of his statement, he was like, no, I look back on that. That was wrong. Yeah. I should not have done that. That was not a good idea to do that. And it was like, well, no shit, it wasn't a good idea. That was a stupid fucking idea to do that. And it's actually abusive. Just because you didn't physically do anything doesn't mean that it's not wrong.
Yes.
As well. But this Don Burke is obviously a household name. But how long has it been? So it's been like 17, 18 years since this guy's been on TV.
Yeah, it's been a fair while now.
So, but he's massive here now, as in, like, you know, this thing has blown up so big that now everybody knows who he is now.
Yeah.
But I have to say, do you wonder that, like, they quit TV early? You know, and go, I got to get out now.
Yeah.
Because I've done so much dodgy shit now that if I keep going on TV, and I'm going to get caught.
Well, see, that's the thing, because he really hasn't been on TV for that long now. He hasn't been on TV for ages. But the other thing is, too, he's 70 years old now.
Wow.
You know, so he is, you know, getting on in age as well. So
is he going to be taken to court?
That is a good question. I think at the moment...
Because I want to know that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are still up in the air of how they want to sort of proceed with things, because I think also, you know, different fingers are being pointed at, you know, senior management at Channel 9, which is where the show was obviously
Which actually,
filmed.
that's where the real crime takes place too.
Yeah.
I mean, we all talk about Kevin Spacey and all these other people, but it was the people that facilitated the continuing abuse.
Yeah.
They should be, I mean, we haven't really called enough of those people out.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Because if you're right and there's management and certain, levels of the corporation that knew this was going to happen and allowed it to continue, that's the stuff that gets me angry.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people can have so many personal problems that they just can't help being addicted to a terrible type of behavior.
Yes.
But if you're someone who's a reasonable thinking person and you still allow it to continue, that's a problem. I know. Did you hear the thing that the Today Show guy in the States that is now out too?
Oh yes,
you heard about that guy?
Yes,
Matt Lauer.
That's right.
I mean, he's out too. And the thing is now, and look, the same thing happened where the first person accused him. Everybody started pouring through all his old on-air interviews that he did with like female celebrities, and some of them are well dodgy.
Yeah,
and so they've now started to look through everything that he's ever filmed and looked for clues to the kind of perversion he was involved in. But again, he was fired within a few days.
Well, one of the things I just heard on a report just recently is that he had his own office.
Right.
And what he was able to do was from his desk, there was a button and he could press that button and lock the door to his office. So he could invite people in.
Really?
Press the button under his table and that would lock the front door. So then he was free to do whatever he wanted behind closed doors.
What? That is crazy.
Yeah.
How who installed that button? Tell us. Email us now. Let us know. We want to know who did that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, if you are a button installing lock person, let's face it, if somebody tells you to do that, like, yeah, you know what I really need? I just feel like I need some way to instantaneously trap someone in my office by the touch of a button. Can you help me with that? Yeah. I'd really appreciate that. You should be going, why? Why do you need that?
That whole thing with having a button like that, it just implies evil.
It does.
I mean, you might have a button to lock the door. I'm almost expecting there to be maybe like a trap door.
Yeah.
Where people just fall down to maybe a pit full of sharks and alligators and things like that.
Devon, there's a lot of good reasons to have a button under your desk. One is like instant Pop-Tart maker. Like you just press a button, Pop-Tarts come out. I mean, that is a good reason to have a button. What other reason to have a button? You could have one that's like a pizza delivery.
Yeah.
So, or one that's like a whiskey scotch thing. It's just a tumbler of scotch appears on your desk. Those are good reasons to have a button.
See, the one button I would have, and it would be purely because I've watched The Simpsons. There was an episode of The Simpsons where, Homer was getting thirsty and he saw on the keyboard it said tab. So he's pressing tab and he's waiting for like a tab cola to come out. And I thought, I'd love that.
Man, they don't have them anymore. Do we have tab colas?
I actually found one.
Really?
Yeah, I remember.
They still make those?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I think actually now in Australia, I think you can only get them if they're being specially imported in.
Ah.
Yeah, so.
They had them in Ireland for like one summer. That was it.
Yeah.
It was just once, didn't take. And then they just realised, Ireland's not the place for this shit. And I think they must have spent a lot of money like importing it to see if we could get a bit of the market off Coca-Cola, and they didn't get much.
Well, I think it is actually part of the Coca-Cola brand. But it's, I think, what they used to call like a low-joule cola. So those who don't know what tab cola is, basically it's like a can of cola, but it was in a pink can.
Right.
And I think it usually was targeted at a lot of women who were watching their weight, similar to like Diet Coke, basically. But now the last time I saw one...
Did you try, do you remember like Pepsi Spice?
No.
Did you ever try that?
No.
I think it's called Pepsi Spice, where there's like a special version of Pepsi, but it was like a spiced kind of version. It was just had like a weird aftertaste and stuff as well. Yeah. It's I just thinking of like things that were not successful.
Well, see, I once had a sip of Dr. Pepper when it first came out.
That's terrible.
And I hated it. I couldn't even, it just seemed such a waste.
Yeah.
As a kid, you don't want to ever waste like soft drink or, any sugary foods. But there, I just literally had 2 mouthfuls and I had to tip it down the sink.
I still to this day don't even know what's in that. I wish I could tell people there is an actual fruit or there's something that they say it's supposed to be. I don't even know what it is. And that I'm the same. It tastes like basically perfume.
See, I almost thought like it tasted like licorice or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's got this weird bittery, but it's like, but the thing is, even though it doesn't taste well, it's so full of sugar. Like the moment you sip it, you're like, oh, jeez. Yeah. I'm going to die of this stuff,
But one thing, speaking of soft drinks and things, I once did come across a tab cola.
Right.
But it was a clear cola. So you would literally pour it out and it would look like clear lemonade.
Ah, right.
But when you drank it, it had the cola taste.
How weird is that?
And it was just the weirdest thing to come across because, you're when you're looking at it, you're going, no, it's going to taste like lemonade.
Yeah.
But when it hits your lips... Yeah, cola.
I can't do soft drinks now. I think you're a Mountain Dew fan. I watch you drink Mountain Dew and I feel like I'm being irradiated or something like that. You know,
well, it does look like the color of engine coolant.
It looks like if you went to Fukushima, mate, they'd have tons of them in there. It just looks like it's about to, you know, melt through the table, that stuff, you know. But it does catch your eye though when you walk in a 7-Eleven though. Yeah. I think that's the idea, you know.
It literally is glowing. Those bottles. When you see those bottles, it is glowing.
Yeah,
you know, it's so like phosphorescent.
Oh, there's something about it. I'm not really a big fan of it as well. Have you ever seen that cola? Oh God, it's really cheap. You go to Aldi, right? Yeah. And everything in Aldi is a different brand, but it's the same fucking thing, you know. And you're constantly like, I don't know, is this what I want? Is this Heinz baked beans? I'm not sure. And so they have a LA Ice?
Oh yes,
mate. Like I just look at those Coke bottles of LA Ice Coke, and it's got the diamonds on it. It looks, it's all glamour. It's LA, it's Los Angeles. It's all about, you know, stars. I bet you Ben Affleck drinks this shit, you know? And then you just look at it and it looks like it's just fucking sugar heroin in a 2-liter bottle. I mean, even the thought of even looking at it, it just gives me pins and needles. I hate the idea of drinking it. But, you know, I suppose it's that thing. It's probably just as bad for you as normal Coke. Yeah. But that's the thing about Coke, though, man. That, you know, they can't be making money because every month now they're bringing out a fucking new one.
Yeah.
And, you know, have you tried the new ones?
Yes.
Right, because they've got like a no sugar one now. So, like, you know, it's kind of like it's the exact same thing, but it's good for you. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not good for you. I'm pretty positive it still has some sort of fucking oven cleaner in it, you know? They have one that is the devil's juice. It's not called the devil's juice. It's Coke with coffee.
Oh yes,
have you tried that?
I'm not. See, I'm not a coffee drinker.
Yeah, me neither.
So I wouldn't go near that product. But
yeah, but you see, I want to buy one and have it here for you to try. Yeah. I think next time we'll do that. I will buy one, Devon, and then we will gauge whether or not it's good based on your reaction, so the audience doesn't have to go through, you know, that ordeal.
I did once actually, probably about a year ago, I came across a cherry cola and the Tab in a store, and I actually bought both of them,
right?
Because it's very rare that you see them here in Australia.
Yeah.
And I bought. I remember it was the Coca. I think it was I can't remember which, if it was the Coca-Cola or the Tab. But I was drinking it, and I thought, I'm just going to admire the can, just have a bit of a read of, you know, what's exactly in it. And I saw that it had expired in 2014.
Jesus.
So I drank it.
Holy
and
crap!
I thought, well, that wasn't a good idea, but I just sort of thought, because it's a liquid, I thought it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And then later that night, I went out for drinks.
Oh, no.
So I went to a pub just near my place.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, geez, my stomach doesn't feel good. So I went to rush to the toilet.
Did you immediately go, 2014?
Straight away, I thought, yeah, it was the product. So I ran to the toilet. Now, once again, I was one of the first people in this pub.
Right.
So I ran into the toilet. And, of course, as we all know, the toilet was full to the brim.
It wasn't a good situation.
So I ended up running across the road to the McDonald's, said, can I use your toilet? Because they lock it after a certain time of night. And they said, no, look, you can only use the toilet if you buy a hamburger or whatever. And I've gone, oh, great. So I ended up running. So I ended up running home, which luckily was 2 blocks away.
So you didn't buy a hamburger?
No.
Okay.
But I tell you, do you know how hard it is to run when you're dying to do a shit?
Like running, when you say running, you mean like Linford Christie. Like, I don't know if I should ask this. Did you make it though?
I made it.
Okay.
I just made it. But one of the things was I was thinking, I thought I was going to have to do it in the street. So I remember running. Look, I'm running along.
Do you have visions of that? Because I have had visions where, you know, if you need to pee really badly, you start to fantasize about peeing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the same thing where you go, you know, I know it's wrong, but oh God, there's an alleyway. Oh, imagine peeing there.
And then the problem was you get to the front door and for some reason the keys will never work in the door properly.
Yeah, true.
You know,
it's the same thing when your killer's chasing you with a knife. You can never get the fucking key. Can you just give me? There could be a keychain with one key on it, and you'd still figure out, fuck, which one is it? Yeah. I'm glad you made it, Devon. That sounded like quite an ordeal. So, but you know, it was 2014. What was the can though? It wasn't a Dr. Pepper, was it?
No, I think it was a Tab.
Oh, it was actually a Tab. See, that's why they're no longer available now, mate. That's why I can't drink coffee, man. People just drink coffee like, this is me. Part of my character, my soul, is to drink a coffee every day. It's part of who I am. You know, it's a big thing for people. And I kind of envy that a little bit, although I do save money. But coffee does not agree with my body at all. No. I actually, it screws my shit up. Screws it up.
See, I hate the smell of coffee. You know, some people love it, but I really hate the smell when you're on public transport first thing in the morning and you've got those people who have that morning breath.
Right.
Combined with
coffee.
With the coffee smell.
It's very bitter, you know.
And it's like, oh God, you know, it's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's like anything. It's like people say, oh, I love coffee. Well, no, what you really love is sugar. I mean, that's what you like. I mean, you go to Starbucks and you ask for a salted caramel latte or whatever the hell. That's not coffee.
Yeah.
That's fucking caramel. That's what that is. You don't love coffee. You fucking like caramel. You know, like if you can drink a black coffee with like a little bit of milk in it, then you probably like coffee, the taste of bitter coffee. But, you know, people that just love it and they have like, you know, coffee with fucking coconut sugar in it or some shit like that, and it's got pumpkin spice in it. You don't love coffee. Yeah. What you like is dessert in a cup at fucking 8 in the morning is what you like. People go talk about how they love coffee. I think if you have to drink an unsugared coffee, and if you like that, then you probably do like it. It's like tea. Yes. You know, people say they like tea, but if you put 4 sugars in a cup of tea, you don't like fucking tea. You like fucking sugar, and that's the bottom line. You know, but the same thing is, Devon. I mean, you would admit that you don't like Coke. You like sugar in Coke. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a nice taste, but if it doesn't have any sugar in it, then it doesn't bloody do anything. Exactly. It's by getting a buzz. If I drank coffee, I would be running around at 1 p.m. and then I would be asleep by 3 p.m. And that's not a good way for me to live my life. You know, I have had the coffee crash and it sucks. Yeah. And I know people, they get headaches if they don't drink it. I mean, that's a drug addiction. Yes. Is what that shit is.
It is.
I mean, you drink LA Ice, it's the same thing. You drink a bottle of LA Ice every day, and then you do one day where you don't drink it, you're going to feel like shit.
So imagine giving that stuff to little kids. They'd be bouncing off the walls.
Oh, yeah, but people do it, though. Mm. There was a big thing where I lived in Ireland where, you know, Smarties?
Oh, yes.
And the coloured things? Yeah. You probably heard the same thing, too, but it was a bit of a myth where, like, you know, if you ate Smarties or gave them to kids, it was the colours, the artificial colours in them that just fucking, they were going nuts. Yeah. Like, that shit was fucking autism in a fucking cup. You know, like, they just were like, they just couldn't focus on anything. Yeah. It was just fucking ADHD all the time. They were just all over the house. And a lot of parents like complain for a lot of time, saying that, you know, it was, you know, they could eat a Snickers bar and be fine, but they had Smarties and that shit just done them in. But nobody knew why. But we figured it's the colours. I don't know if you ever had, did you have that drink, Sunny Delight, here?
No.
Did you not have that here?
No, what's that?
So Sunny Delight was a drink that, I think it's it's like an American sugared up pure orange drink from memory. It's not, I don't think it is pure orange, but it was a kind of a mixture of that taste of real fruit juice, but it was sugared up artificially in some way. And so it was kind of like, but it was marketed like it was sunshine in a glass. The advertisements had like 4 of the healthiest looking family members at the kitchen table in the morning. You know, the dad's just getting ready for work and he's just putting his tie on. And before he leaves the house, he will just down an entire pint of this sugared up orange drink. And he'd be like, oh, I feel great. Let's go make some money, you know, and then he's off and then the kids are off to school and stuff. I've never seen a household look like that, by the way. And yeah, so I remember that this was in Ireland for a bit and it sold like fucking hotcakes.
Oh, really?
Mate, if they made fucking heroin and put it in fucking tinfoil and put it in Tesco's, that shit wouldn't have sold half as much as Sunny Delight. Because I remember walking in, you know, it got to the point, Devon, where the first thing you seen when you walk into a supermarket was Sunny Delight. Like, you know, the first thing you usually see is the bloody veg section. Yeah. Isn't it? You know, you usually see a bloody cart of apples, mate. You could see carts of Sunny Delight. Yeah, people didn't even, before they got real fruit, they bought this shit. And then it all came out later that, like, I don't know all the details of it, but there was a lot of controversy around what the fuck was this shit? What was in it? Why is everyone addicted to it? You know, why are people in the streets begging for change so they can buy another bottle of it? There's something about it that's not, you know, right. And then, but then it disappeared from Irish stores. I used to go to people's house and see it, and I used to actually react to it like it was bad. You know, it's funny. It really got into people's heads. It was like, you know, when you meet somebody and they're a friend and they just do drugs in front of you, yeah, and you got that moment and you go, Jesus Christ, he's doing drugs in front of me. You don't even know how to react. You're actually so shocked. It's so normal that it's actually like, oh shit, he's actually doing drugs. That's what it is. Yeah. I seen fucking Robert De Niro do this in Goodfellas. This is what they talked about. And so it was like that in Sunny Delight, where I'd go to people's houses and I'd just be having dinner and then they would pour it out and I'd be like, that's what they're talking about. That's that fucking devil's juice. It wasn't good for you. No, it was bad. And then it's gone now. And I don't know, I think they do still make it, but there was a period of time where they made millions off that. And I doubt they do anymore. got some news? Well, what's happening in the world?
Well, actually, just recently, now this will probably be of great interest maybe to our male listeners, but look, even
all three of them, yeah.
All three of them, and look, maybe even some of our female listeners might be
Oh, yeah.
interested.
We all audience members are welcome.
So there was quite a large event held in Shanghai just recently.
Okay.
It was the Victoria's Secret performance.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, we're going to get into good trouble in this one.
Well, see, the thing was, last year I watched the swimsuit edition of the Victoria's Secret thing.
Is there two different ones? Like a non-swimsuit one?
Yeah, so basically the one that was on the other night was more for the lingerie, so like bras and bottoms and things like that.
And you watch it because you just want to see what the new fashion trends are. I mean, isn't that why it's watched? Oh, look at that. That's fashionable.
Well, you would think people would be trying to watch it for to see what next season's bras are going to be or whatever. But the funny thing is, it's so far removed from the actual point of the show.
Oh, right.
Because, I mean, basically the whole point of Victoria's Secret is it's a range of, lingerie, nighties, things like that for women.
Is that the point though, Devon? I'm not sure that's true, but yeah, go ahead.
But this was the whole thing, because I'm watching it thinking, okay, one, they get the most attractive model they can possibly find.
Yeah, true.
Right? They put her then obviously wearing their particular product.
Yes.
They then put her in some huge outfit with like wings or dragon wings or angel wings.
Yeah, they do have that, don't they? They have a lot of pink feather wings, I remember. Yeah, I've seen
exactly.
that.
And then usually when the girls are on stage, they will have maybe some performer. So whether, it could be maybe, actually I think it will have.
Oh, like a Justin Timberlake
kind of Justin Timberlake type character. I think actually just recently, I think it was Harry Styles from One Direction.
Oh, yes, right.
So
big fan.
And the thing was too.
He must have been gutted performing there.
And I'm just thinking like everything about that whole performance is actually distracting from what the actual product is. Like, I'm sort of thinking, like, if you're a business and you want to advertise a particular product, you want people to focus on what that product is.
Right.
But the way it is when you look at it, you've got the attractive girl who's already taken away from the product itself.
Well, it's kind of like a model holds up a can of Pepsi Spice, and it's like, what is she advertising? I can't even see it. It's so small.
And then the angel wings are detracting from the whole outfit as well, because that's now a secondary outfit being worn, basically.
I can't say I've been inside a Victoria's Secret store, but I don't think they sell those wings in there.
No.
I'm pretty sure you can't buy those.
Well, can you imagine, right? Just imagine if you're dating a girl or whatever, and you've gone back to her place or she's gone back to yours, and she takes her blouse off, and then boom, all of a sudden these big, massive 6 foot tall angel wings pop out from behind the bra.
Yeah.
I mean, you go, where the hell did that come from? Or imagine, like, she's gone into the bathroom to get herself ready, and then she takes off her blouse, and boom, there's the big angel wings, and then she can't get through the door.
I can't say that's happened to me. I know what you're saying. You kind of go, well, what are we advertising here?
Yeah.
What am I buying? I can't see anything. Those are nice legs. There's wings, lights. Oh, there's Harry Styles. He's all right. What am I watching?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get
exactly.
it.
So pretty much everything on stage is detracting from what the actual product is.
So hang on. So you're at home. You're watching this on like normal TV.
Normal TV.
Like, what time is it on at?
I think it was about 9:30 at night.
How long is it?
It ran for, I think, a good hour and a half.
Wow.
It was.
I mean, surely, Devon, seriously, by the time you get the 45 minutes in, you're like, I kind of get it now. I mean, how much of that can you take?
Well, that was the thing. I could only probably stomach maybe about 10, 15 minutes of it, because after a while, you just got the general gist of it. You know what I mean? Like
you get the general gist and like,
see,
I don't need to watch an hour and a half.
The funny thing was, even like late last year, they had the swimsuit edition. For me...
And again, you were just going, I just want to know what type of swimsuits are coming out next year. That's all I want to know. Stop judging me.
What materials are going to be, what colours is it going to be.
Yeah, I want to be up on trends.
We need to know these things. You know?
Yeah, it's true.
But no, even when they were promoting the show, like doing the intro for the show, they're saying, the Victoria's Secret models are on the world's sexiest island. Right. And I'm thinking, and look, for me, I couldn't even. And
they're all dying of starvation. Like, we have one coconut between 40 women. And how are we going to live?
I'm just thinking, like, I've never thought of an island as being sexy.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm sort of like, I can understand if like they're looking down from like a satellite and they look down at an island and it looks like, I don't know, a couple of breasts,
right,
or maybe like a penis.
Yeah,
or it's called like Cock Rock or something like that. You know what I mean? You can understand
that is a sexy island. A lot of this swimsuit stuff is always on a beach, isn't it? It's always like on a beach. But to me, the beach isn't a sexy place because there's sand everywhere. Then you got sunburn. Sunburn's horrible. You get sunstroke. You're throwing up all the time. You swallow salt water, you surf and you fall in a rock. It's not a sexy place.
Yeah, Because all they're doing is pretty much just laying on the shoreline, just rolling around in wet
I mean, nothing
sand.
says sex to me than a great white shark trying to bite you and a box jellyfish sending your whole body into convulsions of cramps. I mean, that's not sexy to me.
Can you imagine that? Like, you got a Victoria's Secret model, just rolling around on the sand there, and then all of a sudden, like a killer whale from Free Willy comes up and just launches up onto the shoreline.
Holy shit.
Chomp. Yeah. Takes them back into the ocean.
And I get people say to me, "Oh, beaches are sexy." I'm just imagining, where they have those beached wheels and then they have to blow them up.
Yeah.
I just go, that is not sexy. That is disgusting. There's nothing sexy about that. So what were they doing? They were describing it as a sexy island on the show.
It was a sexy island. That was with the swimsuit edition, but this year with the one in Shanghai,
right?
Like I was just watching.
Sexy city, that all that smog. Yeah. It's sexy as anything that. I mean, look, Shanghai, I've never been there, a good city, but apparently the pollution's really bad. Yeah. Like, oh, look at this, she's only got, 3 problems with her lungs. Here she comes.
I don't know much about Shanghai. All I know is that movie Shanghai Noon.
Oh, yeah.
With Jackie Chan.
Which isn't
Owen
a
Wilson.
modern that does not give you any historical perspective on modern day Shanghai. That just tells you Owen Wilson and Jackie fucking Chan, doesn't it?
Exactly. But no, it was but watching it too, because it was like one model. She was watching some of her first footage ever walking on a catwalk for Victoria's Secret. And I think it might have been from 5 years earlier. And she's crying.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, why are you crying? Was it because it was your first performance, or because really all you've really done since then is still just keep walking on catwalks? Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
what have I done? Yeah.
And it's kind of awkward too, because you sort of watch the girls, they're all walking out. They do that, they've got that typical model walk, they walk to the end of the catwalk.
Yeah, there's a rhythm to it, isn't there?
Yeah, but then there's that sort of awkwardness where they want to try and interact with the performer on stage. So, they might start this bit of a more of an up-tempo walk, a bit of a swagger of the hips, and, and it kind of just looks like, like a giraffe sort of getting like a bit excited.
Well, there is a specific way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you always have that point where you reach the end of the stage and you have to turn around.
Yeah.
But you do need to do this kind of like, how are you going? And then turn around. You have to have some sort of sexy expression on the face that makes you go, I'm going to call you tonight. I might give you a text after this. And then they walk back, and it's like, what happened? Well, what did she just do? She just looked at me. I feel like something happened there, and I think that the idea is it's seduction. Did you watch all of it? Honestly?
It was only a little bit, no. There's only so much I think you can sort of put up with too. But the thing was too, I don't think there was anyone in the audience, even if they were in the front row, would have looked up and gone, wow, I like that cross-stitching effect on that bra.
Well, people would though. I mean, some people must do that. Not many.
I don't think you would have been able to have seen it. Because I said, because of so much just distraction, with all the beautiful girls, Harry Styles, all that kind of stuff on stage.
Yeah. So that girl that was this, the woman that was there 5 years after she had done it for the first time.
Yeah.
Was she there as kind of like, in football, they have like, the ex-player that comes in and then gives expertise on what's happening.
The one who's retired at the old age of 25.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow, what a day. 21, that was a good year. Well, maybe we should treat it like sports, though, where it's like, quite honestly, she wasn't great. The other one, though, she was fantastic. Yeah. 2 points to her. We just turn it into sports. And then at the end of the day, they just throw jelly on the stage. And then they have to wrestle. And then people are like, this is the best Victoria's Secret fucking show ever. But in all seriousness, now I watched a documentary that Reggie Yates did.
Yes,
and he did a thing about how they recruit the models for these types of things.
Yeah,
because honestly, it's a terrible industry. And suppose, look, you're being recruited at maybe 17, 18. Some of these girls were being recruited at like 13 or 14.
Yes,
I mean it's just nuts because they need a form of youth that is almost unattainable by anyone. Yeah. So they'll go to any lengths or any age groups to portray this. But his documentary was about how they recruit people in Eastern Russia. One of the interesting things that they said is that he was going to Eastern Russia there is nothing in Eastern Russia. I mean, that's one thing I learned, is that there is no reason to ever go there. I mean, I'm sure there's wonderful people there, but if you go there, Devon, on a holiday, you're going to be sorely disappointed because Disneyland's a long fucking way from Eastern Russia. But he went there and he went to small places, and like they were saying genetically, they said that they recruit so many people there because of the nature of the genetics and the way genetics is combined in that area, that they find that their recruitment is hugely successful there when they recruit people that are like in their teenage years.
Yes.
And it actually is quite disturbing because they know this, so they actively go to that area, and I'm sure other areas of the world as well, where they go, the percentage of success is higher. And so there is literally thousands of these women and girls literally that go to these agencies and audition in underwear.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Like you get these men and they just go, right, everyone line up. You know, he was interviewed and he chooses who's going to be going to Victoria's Secret, then who's going to go to Shanghai to do because I guess what they said is that, you know, even in Asia, having an Eastern European look is actually more successful than having even Asian models do it. So there is a weirdness to the whole industry.
Because I think also too with Asian culture, they are very, very keen on the Western look as well. So I think even, you know, with Asian people too, if they see someone who is Asian who's got that sort of more Anglo look, that's actually really defines what's in their eyes as being attractive. So like
it's a real shame, but that's been totally. I mean, this has been all created by media, you know, and it's been years and years of the media pushing what is the best way to look, and then it's really conditioned people into thinking a certain way, you know? I mean, it's like a competition. They literally give them numbers. But, you know, when Reggie Yates talked to the guy that ran the, you know, the agency that was selecting the models, I mean, they talked about it like they were experts. Yeah. You know, they talked about like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I know exactly who I need. As soon as I see someone, I go, I know you're going to be successful. Yes. You have got what it takes. You know, and it just seems like it's such a weird thing to be an expert in. Like he was the fucking PhD of, you know, model picking. Yeah. Like he just knew what it was. But it was impossible to escape the sleaziness of how that worked. Because some of these guys, you know, because it's such a young oriented industry, you're right though. They hit 25, a little bit older, and you're done.
Yes.
And it's sad. And then they get some other bloody 17-year-old. And the thing is, they take them away from their household. You know, at 17.
Yeah.
And they're sending them to photo shoots or catwalks in Shanghai and, you know, other, you know, areas of the world. Some of them do go to the States and do it there. But mate, if you're sending a 17-year-old, you know, Eastern European, you know, lady to different areas of the world without her parents, I mean, you wouldn't be confident that they would be, you know, in a situation that's safe. So I suggest next time, Devon, when we sit down to watch Victoria's Secret, we take out a placard and we protest it heartily.
Well, I wonder if actually there's going to be a point where, you know, because obviously now people are talking about gender equality. I wonder if there's going to be something like Victor's Secret.
Right.
So you imagine you've got the girls walking around on stage with the big angel wings.
Yeah, right.
But then you might have like a man, you know, walking around in underpants, but instead of like angel wings, he's got something like, I don't know, a big serpent hanging from his pants or an elephant trunk or something like that.
I don't think the elephant trunk's going to do it, mate.
No, exactly.
I think we need like devil horns or something like that, right? The thing I've known about speaking to a few women about this is that, you know, men have this thing where like if you see sexy underwear, it affects us. We actually react to it.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? We actually go, ooh, you know, there is something instinctive if you're a heterosexual male that does click with that sort of thing. But I don't think it works the other way. No. You know what I mean? Like there's no sexy underwear either of us can wear to be sexier. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
No.
You know, like I cannot, you put on like leather underwear. You're like, what the fuck are you wearing?
Exactly.
You're like, it looks terrible. We don't have the equivalent in the male world of that.
But it would be funny seeing, like, just say a guy walking on stage and he's wearing, like, for example, like, I don't know, spandex boxer shorts, and all you hear in him, or the only noise you hear from him walking on stage is like going,
yeah, no.
like that as he's walking along. I reckon it'd be hilarious.
I don't think it's going to cut him, mate. I don't think Victor's Secret is going to take off, you know? And also, you know, I feel that the thing about it is that the Victoria's Secret stuff, it's expensive.
Yes.
It's not cheap.
No.
You know, you want to look that good, you got to pay some money for that. And I just don't know, mate. I just don't think there's a market for men to look at other men and go, you know, I'm going to spend $100 on that, loads of leather pants. I think that's really going to pull my shit together. I guess the thing about men is we just go, yeah, you know, 10 pairs of underwear for $10, done.
See, I've heard of guys who have said they'll wear the same pair of underpants 4 times.
Oh, you mean like before, and then throw them out?
No, before washing.
Oh.
I've heard of people say,
well, like 4 days.
4 days.
Wow.
So basically what they'll do is they'll wear it like the normal way. So forwards, backwards, inside out forwards, inside out backwards.
Oh my God, what a system.
Just imagine that. Like, just imagine how dirty it'd be on the 4th day.